Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with percussionist Matt Zimbel of the Toronto Group Manteca. We had to know about the sound on their 13th CD as a group. It's 2020's Augmented Indifference. So in 2020, this Juno Award-winning world collective celebrates its 41st year. This cultural mashup started in Toronto in 1979, drawing on musical influences throughout the Americas. And this 9-member artist collective was founded by Matt and former bassist Henry Heillig. Over their 4+ decade history, they've been one of Canada's leading musical ambassadors, touring the world's most prestigious festivals, sharing stages with the likes of Miles, Ella, Weather Report, Van Morrison, and giving fans a high-energy show full of joy and great music. So please get to know him, this band, and dig this interview, my friends.
Well, hey, Matt, thank you for taking a minute out today for Neon Jazz, man. I appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure talking to you, too, man. Let's get into Augmented Indifference. It has a very unique sound. Give me an idea of kind of what your vision for this project was.
Since we've been recording for the past, almost 41 years now, we decided a long time ago that we wanted to play together, the full band on the floor together. And so kind of what drives the creation of these projects. We all get on the floor together. So there's 9 or 10 of us playing. And then what we will do is we will finish a song from the full band, and then there'll be some overdubs that go on right away. So in other words, if let's say there's an alto flute part, that'll be an addition. There's a marimba part or a vibes part, that'll go on right away. So we always try and preserve the energy and the liveliness of the playing. We don't want to create a project that's too studio-fied. You know, we want to really feel like what the band feels like live. In terms of the writing of the project, again, we always use the same kind of how could I put this? We want to create melodies that are memorable, but have a sense of depth and a sense of sophistication to them. And we want grooves that really punch and kind of move. So one of the things that we've always done over the years is the approach that we take to the writing. It's like we think about creating a show, and we think about how is this song going to fit into the show, because every song is a new song. It's going to replace an older song in the set list, and each song in the set list has to accomplish something. You know, it has to move us forward in some way. It has to showcase a specific person. It has to have, a moment for the ensemble within the ensemble to do different things that haven't been done yet in the show. It's almost like structuring a musical in a way.
Well, and you guys have been at this for 41+ years, and that's kind of a very rare entity, whether it's jazz or any other genre. Give me an idea of how all of this began for you guys.
Well, it began very simply because we were living in Toronto back in 1979, and because of our instruments, because we have a horn section and because we have a lot of percussionists in the band, we were very interested and excited by the salsa movement in New York. You know, artists like the Fania All-Stars and Ray Barretto and Mongo Santa Maria and Tito Puente and all of these people. So we started playing salsa. And after a while, decided that it was time to write our own music and ventured down that path, using influences from all over the world, still being, very much driven by kind of rock tendencies in a lot of ways. You know, we always joke that the band is like, it's a wannabe rock band that doesn't play rock, and because the energy has always been a principal part of what we do. It's when you see the show live, it's a powerful, impactful show, and that's something that has always been part of what we do.
So you guys have been all over the place. You've been a Juno Award-winning act, and you've done so much. What's been kind of the key to the longevity? I mean, that's decades and decades of work together. What's the glue that keeps you all together?
I think there's two things. The first thing is that we're friends and we enjoy each other's company. And the second thing is that the only chance we have to play this music is to create it. It's not like we can play it, it's not like there's other bands around that are doing this type of thing that we could become members of. It's a very unique kind of approach. So and I don't mean that to sound, conceited or anything like that, but it's just very simply that the only opportunity we would have to play this style of music is to play it in this band. And that's what's kind of kept us together and moving forward. Plus the audience reaction. I mean, whenever we've been, in the depths of despair, which happens, to any band over any long period of time, you get the music in front of an audience and you see how enthused they get and how motivated they are and how excited they are, and it just feeds you. It's just really, it's something that's so nourishing as a musician to feel that kind of feedback from the audience. It really does make you go, okay, well, this has got to keep going.
Speaking of stages, you've been on a whole lot of them over the years. Has there been a show or response from a fan that's really surprised you guys, that really kind of blew you away?
One of the things that's always been a real point of pride for us, especially like in the last 10 years, is we can go and play at a town square at a jazz festival where we might be playing a free show. And we'll see, 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds like just totally grooving to the music. And that'll be the same music that serious jazz fans who don't like fusion as such, you know what I mean, will also be digging the music. So to be able to span that distance between two various groups, people who know nothing about jazz and people who've never been to a jazz show before, and people who are serious jazz listeners and who have a very developed taste and who have really built-in, preferences, to be able to bridge those two things and to be able to have that kind of excitement generated, to us that's so gratifying, because what it means is that the music is working and it's reaching people and it's communicating with people. And when you're an instrumental band, the idea of being able to communicate with people, it really is very important.
So you've seen a lot of changes in the music industry over the years. You've seen, your fan base grow. You've seen your fan mates grow. You've seen a lot happen. Is jazz or music that you're involved with, is it getting better? Are you in a better space now than you were in the late 70s when you started?
I think creatively we certainly are, because we know more about who we are and what we want to do, and we know how to get there, and we enjoy being with each other so much, and we have been doing it long enough to know what it is we need to do. So in that sense, yes. But in the sense of what's happened to the industry is a complete disaster, in my opinion. The streaming services have basically there's no revenue any longer. So, it just doesn't exist. There is no revenue generated by selling music any longer. The only time that we make any money on sales is when we do a festival or when we do a show and we sell physical CDs at the venue. So, that's a disaster. And the other thing that is challenging, too, is that, jazz festivals, it's not like they're paying more than they used to pay. We get offers now that were same offers that we had in 1993. So it is really a challenging time to be a touring act. We have 10 musicians on stage and usually a couple people on the crew. So it's not inexpensive for us to go someplace, but it's extremely challenging to be able to put together viable tours where there's revenue generated. It's just, I don't know what's happening in the music business these days. It's a mystery to me how anybody can tour.
So what would you cite as some of your jazz influences for not only you, but for the band that's really got you, motivated, that you kind of have been really influenced by?
Well, I think that for everybody in the band, there's been very different influences, from Jan Gabarak from the ECM period to people like Eddie Harris and Les McCann. I love those records that those guys made. The Tanya All-Stars were a huge influence for us. There's Canadian artists who I have tremendous admiration for, artists like Elizabeth Shepherd. I don't know if you've come across her material before, but she's just a really original act. So there's a lot of different people who have influenced us in the past. I know Oregon was an act that we listen to a lot. And we listen a lot to artists who are outside the jazz realm, you know, but a lot of different acts that are world artists or are rock artists. Various different people have influenced us at different times over the years. I think that one of the biggest influences that we've always had has been kind of looking at bands who really know how to arrange for what it is they do, and looking for people who really try very hard to create different, we call it the ensemble within the ensemble. It's like looking at, okay, who can we use at these two moments to best voice this section of the song? And when you have 9 people, many of whom are multi-instrumentalists, that's really one of the great joys of arranging. So that's what we look for when we listen to music from various places around the world. Tom Z, for example, the Brazilian artist Tom Z, has been a huge influence on us. Totally eclectic, totally unique artist, and the way that he uses sound, sonics, and Lenin, another artist from Brazil, same type of thing. Very, very influential artist for us.
What's the future? Do you have kids? Do you want to pass this on to next generations? What are you all looking at, say, here in 20 years from now?
That's a very funny question. Passing it on to our kids. I'm not sure our kids would want it. There, join the family business. No. A lot of our kids are musicians, and some of them have really defined themselves as being very unique musicians. I'm not sure they would take over Dad's business, as it were. But I don't know. I mean, that's a great question in the sense that, you know, we go kind of project by project. We do the work, we send it out into the world, and we get nourished by the response, and then we start the process again. And some of the shows that we've been doing lately have been some of our stronger shows, so we just want to keep playing, and we just want to keep touring as much as possible and taking any opportunity that we have to get in front of people. So for us, I mean, I think that's the biggest priority, you know, is to just be playing.
You know, I'm not going to be able to ask the whole band, so I'm going to have you be kind of the mouthpiece for it. And I want to know, why do you love jazz?
I guess there's a lot of freedom in the work. You don't have the pop music constraints to writing that have been imposed by radio. It's a great opportunity to really explore your instrumentation, and it's a great platform for ideas. The interaction between musicians is so inspirational. I mean, that's one of the things that really motivates us, is to be able to play together, to listen so carefully, and to see where people want to take something. So a solo section, a lot of the solo sections when we play live, they're relatively open. We'll know what the form is, obviously, because there's a lot of us to keep focused on getting through a roadmap of a chart, but we love the idea of where each individual can take the tune and can make their own imprint on it. That kind of freedom and at the same time that unified vision as to what it is we do has really, I think, again, I use the same word, nourished us, because when you're doing this 41 years, you have to get something out of it. And I think what we get out of it is this tremendous sense of excitement when we're playing live. We don't really know where things are going to go. And that's just thrilling.
If you were to pack up the band and come to Kansas City, you go down 18 and find one of our premier clubs, the Blue Room, and you had to write up a notice a week in advance of the show to tell people what they would get from your show to convince them to come out with all of the options they have. You guys are the ones that they should see. What would you say? How would you describe what your live experience is like to get people to sit down and watch you?
I think that we would say that you will be thrilled. And I know that sounds really pretentious coming from a musician and saying that to an audience member, but that is the reaction that people give us, because it's 9 people, 10 people sometimes. It is impactful. It is full of energy. It is full of this, it burns. And I think one of the things that is so unique about the band is that because we've been doing it for so long, there's so much that is unspoken about what we do, and audiences feel that. It's not something that you can intellectually process. You just feel it. A show with us is fun. We have fun, you'll have fun. And I know that those things sound really, again, kind of, in a way, almost vacuous. Oh, it's fun, yeah, great, whatever. But I think that's an important thing these days. I think to go out to a show and feel the impact and the energy and the excitement that we're feeling and sharing that with the audience, it really builds up into a kind of a whole experience that's really quite fun.
My final question to you is this. Everyone has their perception of who you all are as a band. But you are on the inside. You have the best insight, especially after all these years. How would you describe the band? How would you say to somebody if they wanted to know, what are you guys all about? What are you guys all about?
I would say that we are a world jazz band that is a wannabe rock band.
I like that. I like the distinctness of it, and this is wonderful. Hey, thank you for opening up about the band, man. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything. Good luck with the new album, and hopefully at some point we do actually see you swing through Kansas City.
Oh, man, well, we'd love to come to Kansas City. I'll tell you, that would be something. So if you know anybody, let them know.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest groups and players in Toronto, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Matt for his time, music, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.